Hour number 4 of WCC Media Day from Resorts World in Las Vegas. Still 3 great programs to feature. And next up, the Washington State Cougars, affiliate members now in the WCC men's and women's basketball. They're under new leadership. As you go to look at their resume and get familiar with the Cougs, it's worth pointing out they reached the tournament last season for the first time since 08. Did so as a 7 seed and won a tournament game, but this is a completely revamped WSU staff and roster now under David Riley's leadership. He was named the new head coach on April 2nd, replacing Kyle Smith, who continues his career at Stanford. Good evening once again. I'm JB Long. Glad to be with you here at the WCCs in Las Vegas. I'm joined by Cedric Coward, a senior from Fresno representing the Cougs, and also Isaiah Watts from West Seattle. And there is David Riley. And why don't we start with you, Coach? Congratulations on this opportunity. I know it's a familiar footprint for you in the Pacific Northwest, but why now? Why the Cougs?
Yeah, you know, it's a great program, and they had a heck of a year last year, and just excited to kind of take this thing the next step and keep building on what Kyle Smith did here and what the previous coaches have done.
What is your vision for the next chapter of Washington State basketball?
Well, I think, you know, building off what we did at Eastern Washington, and I think we had a great offensive program. We really did a great job with skill development, and now to take some of the stuff that Washington State's done well, great defensive program, making sure we add that to the resume, and then just hopefully starting with a little higher caliber players and just build those guys up and to make it a place that we can develop, and that's what we want to be known for.
Yeah, I know there's a group coming with you from Cheney, but let me start with Isaiah, the last remnant from that team. And before we get too far into the future, how about a look back into the past, what you and your Cougs accomplished last year? What did it mean to you?
Man, it was very, especially as a freshman, super special and super awesome just to be a part of a team like that, and to take a community like Pullman, Washington, like the Cougar fan base to the tournament and receive all the love. It was so special.
I'm going to age myself a little bit here. I'm taking a risk. Don't let me down, okay?
Okay.
Do you know the Fresh Prince of Bel-Air meme? Okay, cool. Because I was thinking about you today. Like, you walk into the house and everything's gone. The furniture's gone. Where are your teammates? Right. Is that how you felt a little bit this offseason?
Yes, I had one lone teammate. Me and Parker Garrett. Parker Garrett stuck it out with me, and I appreciate him for that because I would have been too lonely.
You know, knowing, David, that you would not necessarily start from scratch, but have a lot of latitude on that canvas as you built your first roster. What did you set out to do in terms of seeking the right people for this first year with the Cougars?
Yeah, I think really just studied what we had success with at Eastern Washington and before. We want skilled guys. We want high IQ guys. You got to have a big motor, and you got to be a high character person. Like, those 4 things are the big things for us. And, you know, I think we did a good job in the portal and looking at the freshmen, and then obviously keeping the guys, the two guys, Isaiah and Parker from Washington State, 2 guys that I had recruited previously. So just excited about the blend.
All right, Cedric, Coach says I'm leaving, but I want you to come with me. What was your reaction?
My reaction, you know, really wherever he was at, I was at, really. That's where my heart was set at. It was funny because before, you know, the rumors and speculations came, I got a text from an anonymous somebody that if Dave goes to Washington State, are you going to go with him? And I was shocked. So I immediately called him, and he said at the moment it was just rumors. And then a week later, he gives me a call and is like, hey, by the way, we're Cougs. So, you know, from there, my heart was always set on Washington State with my coach and my coaching staff, and, you know, being able to develop me the best way possible.
How is that chemistry with some of the players that you're bringing with you, and that understanding of program building and what he's trying to accomplish help you get the right start in Pullman?
Yeah, I mean, we all know what he wants out of us. You know, we know what we want out of ourselves, and that's the beauty of having Coach Riley and all of our coaches, you know, being able to develop us to NBA players. You know, that's what my goal is, to make it to the NBA. And the goal of Washington State is create an NBA factory, you know, of high caliber players. And like the guys that came from Eastern and the guys that are, you know, stayed, you know, and even the new guys coming in, we're all understanding the culture here and what Coach Riley and, you know, the staff wants.
Easter's on your schedule this season, right? In Spokane, coming up this fall. What's that going to be like for you?
I mean, it's just another game for me, really. It's going to definitely, you know, have some emotion tied to it, just because I really appreciate everything Eastern did for me. You know, it's kind of where I developed and became more of a man on and off the court, you know, and I thank them for everything. But at the same time, once that ball gets tipped off, there ain't no friends. And we can chop it up before the game, we can chop it up after the game, but in between those 4 lines, there ain't no friends.
Isaiah, you already went through it once as a freshman, right? Having to introduce yourself around and make some new friends and teammates. Now as a sophomore, you have to do it all over again. What are some of the steps you've taken individually and collectively this offseason to make sure that bonding happens?
Man, just really just being around the guys. I think they've done a great job of, I wouldn't say accepting me, but accepting me and welcoming me in with open arms. But just hanging out with them, they like to do a lot of cool stuff like cooking, barbecues, and stuff like that. So just making sure I'm present and I'm myself.
I've heard about these barbecues. In fact, I understand that Cedric, you're kind of okay.
Yeah.
But baking's more your forte?
I do a little bit of both. I think I really only bake cookies, and I've been baking cookies since I was at Eastern last year, and a lot of my teammates really like my cookies, so whenever they ask, I usually get it done. But
I gotta cut you off.
Yeah, go ahead.
The red velvet cookies that he makes, best cookies I've ever had in my life. Like, they don't even need milk, they don't need nothing else but Cedric's love.
Yeah, I appreciate that.
You take that compliment.
Oh,
where'd the recipe come from?
YouTube.
Really?
YouTube, and I add my own little twist to it. But I think, like you said, it's just that ties in my love for cooking, and it's therapeutic for me, ties into having, the cohesive team. That's Dave's main thing, making sure we're the most cohesive team on the floor and off the floor. And I think, like Zay said, we accepted him and he accepted us. Like, we weren't coming in as like, hey, Dave's our coach, and he wasn't watching us come in as like, hey, this is my school. We came in, let's build on this together, let's get closer. And to be honest, this is probably the closest team I've been on in all 4 years of my college career.
Gentlemen, what I appreciate is that you've kind of turned that sentiment outward too. It's not just about each other, it's about recruiting your classmates to come see you play, whether it's visiting fraternities or sororities. How's that going? Do you feel like you're kind of engendering some support there on campus?
Yeah, I think so, yeah. The fraternities and sororities are really most of the fan base because they are the heart of the school, really, making sure their traditions and their, culture is spread throughout the school. And at Eastern last year, we had many, fraternities coming with their flags and, kind of recruiting themselves while also supporting us. And I think that's what we want to have at the Wazoo games. And we got Beasley, a way bigger arena, so we want each and every seat filled in there. And if it can be with all students, great. If it can be with students and fans mixed from the community, great. Like Dave said, we want it to be a party.
Yes, sir.
Now, Coach, I was really come to know and love some of the nerd ball that was played on the Palouse in recent years. My only fear was that you might lose some of that with Coach going down to the farm. But then I read that you're from the Stanford area, kind of raised there, and have a background in mathematical economics. So is it safe to say that the metrics are still alive and well on the Palouse?
I mean, I don't know exactly what they were doing the last couple of years with Kyle, but we definitely use some analytics. The guys have bought into it. They're always checking their hard hat points after the practices, and I think we've got a good evaluation tool to see where we're at.
Yeah, how does that help this time of year especially, right? Starting next month, you got scoreboards. But for this point in time to develop the culture and the system and the attitude you want, does that carry you through an off season?
For sure. I think it really helps as a team. For a team, you can kind of see who you need to play, what you need to work on. Like, you can see if you're turning the ball over or where you're turning it over and all these different things. But especially with individual, like with these guys at the end of their summer, you can look at their individual stats. You can see where they need to work on, how they can work on it through their stats. And I think it's really helped the guys.
So you grew up on the Stanversity campus. You had a parent who was a professor. Is that right?
Yeah, my dad was a doctor at the medical school.
Okay, but you do have roots in Washington. Like, this is an authentic position and a place for you to be. Tell us about your time in that state.
For sure, yeah. I was actually born in Seattle. I won't curse and say the name of the school that my dad was at medical school at. But I've been in Spokane now for 17 years. So this is my first year moving to Pullman, and a lot of time in the Northwest. 4 years at Whitworth and then 13 at Eastern Washington. And great spot. It's a hoops community. You look at the Northwest, what Seattle's done with their basketball development. Obviously over in Eastern Washington with Gonzaga, with what Washington State's done. There's a lot of great basketball here. So just excited to keep building on that tradition.
And your wife is in the medical space as well, medical field?
Sure is. She's a respiratory therapist.
So how important was it to stay within striking distance of Spokane?
Well, no, she's actually just going to start working up in Pullman now. So
okay, great.
Got the regional hospital. It should work out well.
Awesome. What about the personality that you would like this team to take on? Do you sense what it is already, or is this, in your experience, something that grows with age, with time, and that you don't really find out until February or March?
I think we'll continue to learn who they are. I think individually we got a bunch to learn to guys that are resilient, that got a chip on their shoulder, and I think that'll show through. But I think what we try to do as a staff is take a step back and let these guys kind of be comfortable being themselves, and I think we've started to see some guys blossom and take some roles.
Isaiah, if you had to give a scouting report on the Cougs going into the new year, what would you say strengths and weaknesses, areas of growth, things you got locked down so far?
Strengths, offense. We play really fast. We're a great shooting team. Defensively, it's gonna be fun. We're playing. We're not playing the passing lane. I'm playing the passing lanes a little bit too much, but we're just gonna get out and run. Our defense leads the offense, and we understand that. And I'm actually proud of our team for kind of getting that down. Cedric's a big block guy. He likes to block a lot of shots, so it's gonna be fun for sure. I'm excited.
It's good self-scout right there for you. Cedric, want to go to your background in Fresno, right?
Yes, sir.
Your entire family, going back to your grandmother, is there?
Yes, sir.
It's a great place. I was telling you, I was recently just there with the Bulldogs, and you're going to go play them in Palm Springs Thanksgiving week.
Yep, California.
That's a unique connection on the schedule. You circled that one?
Yeah, Fresno State, growing up down the street from them, I was a Bulldog, growing up my whole life. Not anymore, but, I was a Bulldog growing up my whole life. And, I thought it was really interesting. It was at one point one of my dreams to go to Fresno State and play in front of the home crowd, but I think God had a different plan for me and, allowed me to get with Coach Riley and now with Zay and all the other guys. And I think this is the best path for me. And there's definitely a game circled on my calendar just to it's kind of like I'm not going to say revenge, but like you should have recruited me out of high school game.
Sure.
And, obviously I entered the portal last year and they tried to get me, but too little, too late.
There'll be a lot of Fresno State fans tuning in and be like, wait a second, I remember that name.
Yeah.
You, not intentionally, not inadvertently, skipped a step in the process there. Speaking of your recruiting trail, you started at the D3 level, right?
Yes, sir.
In the state of Oregon at Willamette. If I had told you then, because you're a freshman at the D3 level, that this is how you would be finishing, would you believe me?
Yes and no. I think at first it would have been hard to, but at the same time I had faith, I had belief. And something that I commend my dad to is my dad told me once I entered college, no matter if it was D3 or JUCO or wherever it was, play for where you want to go and not for where you're at. And we started looking at different guys and figuring out, the guys that went from D3 to, D1 and then obviously now to the NBA, like Duncan Robinson and Devin George are a couple of guys. And to be able to do that, you had to really look at yourself in the mirror. And one thing that Coach Riley and our staff like to say is live in reality. And the reality was when I was at D3, I wasn't that good, as I am now. I was good enough in order to get looked at by Coach Riley, and that's all I needed. I just needed a foot in the door. And now I'm busting through walls trying to get to where I want to.
Yes, sir.
Isaiah, he started going through that NBA Rolodex. I thought he might have been going there. I hear you've got a unique attribute.
Yeah.
Want to share it with us?
My unique attribute is I can name all the NBA MVPs in order from now until 1980. I'm not going to do it because it's going to take a long time, but I can do that, and I got people to back it up.
I've witnessed it.
Yeah. Wow. All right, so you don't want to take us all the way to commercial by going back in time, but how about a few of your favorites?
All Lakers. Kobe, Shaq, Magic, Kareem, MJ, of course, he's not a Laker, but MJ, of course. Bron, obviously he won his MVPs not on the Lakers, but now he is on the Lakers. And then really, I think the MVP season Russell Westbrook had was really like when you talk about all-around games, everybody gives him, sweat now because apparently he can't shoot the ball. But he's one of the greatest players of all time, simply because of what he was able to do and how he impacts the game. And really, that's what I model my game after, being able to impact on all areas of the floor, offensively, defensively, rebounding, whatever it is. Whatever you need to do to win the game, that's what I like to do.
So when we're in commercial break and the lights come on and you're like, Stephen A., I'm coming for you. Look out, I'm ready for this.
Yep.
That was a pretty good audition tape. We need to clip that off for you.
For sure, please. I can get on there. My audition tape will just be me naming the MVPs. And give me a job when I'm 45. I want to play in the league for a long time first, and then I'll be right next to them.
All right, to our friends in Bristol, make sure you're paying attention. I want to know, does it work the same way in the classroom? Like when you set your mind to something, is it encyclopedic?
Yeah, absolutely. I think in the classroom, with all this stuff going on, with basketball-wise, the classroom is definitely a place where you really have to lock in, you know, because at the same time, we're student athletes. We're not athletes first, we're students first. And that's been something I've been taught since I was young. Without an education, you're not really going to get far. And plus, if I didn't have good grades, my parents wouldn't let me play sports. So that was probably the most factor that allowed me to, you know, really pay attention to school. And right now, I got pretty much all A's in all my classes, and, you know, I'm keep on going.
Good for you.
Yes, sir. Thank you.
Shout out Miss Heather.
Yeah, shout out Heather. Yeah, for real. You should help me out.
Coach Riley, happy for you, excited for you, because it seems like you got a great group to work with as you lead into this season. Does it feel the same way it always does during October, or is it a little different this time around being in a new place at a new level?
I think there's a few more different days where more surprises, but this is my favorite time of the year. You know, I love competing, I love the games, but this is where you really get to teach and bond with the players and really grow as a group. And so I'm having a lot of fun. And this is why you get in the business to coach and develop young men.
We came up just short of getting to water balloon fights on the football field, but maybe next time, right?
Yeah.
I know there's a lot of good going on in Pullman right now. Recently made a trip there, and to all the Cougs watching and anticipating this new year, this new horizon, the WCC. Thanks for being with us today, and cannot wait to see you all tip it up.
Yes, sir. Go Cougs.
Cedric, Isaiah, David, congratulations on the appointment. Looking forward to seeing what you can do on the Palouse.
Sir, thank you.
Thank you.